Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about 3 emails involving Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that the House Democrat Oversight Committee released this morning. Maybe the first point is a political point. Why this morning? Well, now we know even more vividly why Mike Johnson has kept the entire House of Representatives out of session from doing any business. Because if they came into session, he would have had to, as indeed he is doing today, swear in the 218th person for a vote to release these documents and others as well. And that wouldn't automatically release them, but of course, forcing it to a vote, the expectation is that Republicans won't have the fortitude to keep them to vote against releasing them, even though they've acquiesced in Epstein's strategy not to do it. And moreover, it seems to me pretty clear, this is sort of, under text here, that had these come out during the last couple weeks, they would have upended the dynamic and possibly put Republicans very much on the defensive and could well have affected the whole shutdown negotiations, which, as we know, ended, to my mind and that of many, very much in Republicans' favor and to Democrats' disfavor, because they cave after trying to hold out for weeks, longest showdown ever, and then they just basically get little of what they want. So that, I think, is first how these emails dovetail with the specific up-to-the-minute political landscape. All right, second, what do they tell us and what do they say? There are only 3 that have been released. I would say the most vivid or most inculpatory is a very brief one that comes from Epstein during the period when Trump is not even a candidate for president. It's 2011. He's having some prominence as a, basically TV personality, but they're beginning to talk about President Jeff Epstein writes to Ghislaine Maxwell, the co-defendant and who's now in jail, but in a sweetheart jail under the specific arrangement of the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. Remember, Epstein gets a very sweetheart plea deal in Florida. And there is the beginnings, the murmurs of different scandals and opposition to it. Certain things are coming out, and here's what Epstein writes Maxwell. And they're both long from being charged again in the charges that resulted in Maxwell's incarceration and Epstein's charges that he committed suicide before facing. I want you to realize, says Epstein, that the dog that hasn't barked, so things are coming out about other people, is Trump. Name of victim, redacted. Spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. That's in 2008. I'm 75% there. And Maxwell writes back, importance high. I've been thinking about that. So stop for a second. Maxwell, who is reportedly preparing her request for commutation now, everybody else gets them, why not she, told the Deputy Attorney General, issued a statement, very self-serving, we thought at the time, saying, they're social friends, but nothing inappropriate, etc. So you have Epstein telling her in a way that he's not providing new information. He's, reminding of something that they know and he's never been mentioned. She says, I have been thinking about that. So I think the conclusion to draw there, maybe not beyond a reasonable doubt, but the reasonable supposition is Ghislaine Maxwell is a liar. And this whole notion that she issued saying Trump was always appropriate, etc., is just a self-serving way to try to reduce her sentence. Okay, so that to me, because it's just this unguarded exchange between Epstein and his first Gal Friday, as it were, whatever very important role Maxwell says. Really, to me, you can infer a lot. Okay, we have another one to Michael Wolff. Now, Michael Wolff is a biographer of Trump. He certainly has made a lot of sensational allegations. People haven't been sure how much to credit. He's the source of the accusation that there's pictures of Trump with teenage girls on his lap. And he's going back and forth in this one where Epstein says to him, and this is about the whole defense of the charges, victim blacked out, Mar-a-Lago blacked out. But now Epstein says, Trump said he asked me to resign, never remember, ever. Of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. We'll have to figure that out a little bit more. But the main point here is right away the White House comes out and repeatedly makes it seem as if Trump, moralistic man that he is, in 2004, it seems certain that they had some kind of falling out, Trump and Epstein, and they want to suggest, the White House and Trump, it was because of Trump's condemnation of his activities. Epstein says, no way. And in fact, even Trump stumbled into what seems to be the more accurate story that Epstein stole away Ghislaine Maxwell from the locker room where she was an attendant and a popular one. And that was the reason Trump was angry at Epstein. But in any event, the notion that Trump asked him to resign, that's what the White House and others are proffering. Even today, these come out, and you have the ever reliable, to say any kind of crap at all, even false, White House spokesperson Karen Leavitt say imply again that Trump broke it off because of Epstein's activity, asked him to resign from the club. Epstein says, no way. Presumably, if he's asked to resign, there's some kind of record or whatever. But this goes to Trump's probity and his current defense of and why they parted company. There's also reports that it was over a real estate deal where they were combatants. In any event, Trump wants to massage it into his own parting company from Epstein, because he knew Epstein was a creep. Man, what a ironic pot kettle set of problems we would have there. And this email disputes that anyway, or puts it into real doubt, and flat out asserts that he never, Epstein was asked to resign. And now finally, we've got a later one in 2015 where Trump is knocking on the door of a serious candidacy for president. So now things have really changed. Wolff tells Epstein, I hear CNN. I think that's one of the early, not even debates. Remember, there are 15 or so Republican candidates who Trump takes down one by one with his insults. And, we hadn't seen this political style before, but to many people's surprise, it turns out to be effective. Anyway, in one of these as they're going on. And also recall, this is the period where cable is just lavishing attention on Trump, giving him all this airtime. Anyway, Wolff says to Epstein, I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, maybe even on air. or at the scrum. The scrum is the whole post-debate kind of spin session with everyone around. So this is, at the either when they're all together or after. And Epstein writes back, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? Pretty damn interesting response to someone who supposedly is crosswise with Trump at that point. He's looking to both shield Trump, it would seem, and maybe himself. And here's Wolf, who is a tricky figure in this whole mix. He's someone who really has made his name with incendiary allegations about Trump. Anyway, what he tells Epstein, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or in the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. Pretty clear what that means. You've got something to hold over his head, even blackmail, because, and as Wolf goes on to say, you can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or, and this was the time, remember, when nobody thought that Trump was going to go to the head of the class, or it sure seemed dubious. If it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. In other words, you, Epstein, would then be in a position to drop the information that would blow up as a scandal in Trump's face and let him know that you weren't doing that and be able to bank a lot of benefit. Of course, this is before Access Hollywood and our experience of scandal after scandal that Trump has managed to survive. Okay, but that's the content of the email. So the political context where it's been held up till now, and remember, Epstein has been the one subject that has stuck to Trump, notwithstanding his being able to shake loose from others. We'll see what it does now. But it certainly, to my mind, puts the lie to the things that Ghislaine Maxwell was saying. And of course, it suggests, and this is going to be the drumbeat that you'll hear, there's a lot more there. This just comes from Epstein's state in response to a subpoena. What does the FBI have? What's in these 300,000 pages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Epstein scandal is back. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.